This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Miami, South Beach, Marlins Park, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Christine Leahy and I, 1 year ago today in San Diego for the All-Star Game. We are in the wild, adventurous
What?
Marlins Park, where for the first time in my career, I will be serenaded to open my show. This is not Romeo and Juliet, it's Pitbull.
Yes.
And The Herd.
The romantic.
Pitbull is performing. He is doing a sound check for the next 20 minutes. Now, fortunately, our amazing engineers have made it very easy for me to hear. But I'm being serenaded by Pitbull, the soothing tones of Pitbull.
I heard he was trying to recruit you to be a backup dancer.
Oh, you have no idea how uninterested I would be in that. But nonetheless, the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred, joins us this hour. Dion Waiters got a new contract for the Miami Heat, is joining us. Alex Rodriguez, Joe Buck, John Smoltz, Kevin Burkhardt. We are loaded today. And I want to start. We had a real fun time last night. Went out. South Beach is just different. There are certain places in America that just feel different. And South Beach in Miami, Christine and I went to our bosses months ago and said, let's do the All-Star Game again. We had so much fun last year. There's Pitbull. Cue the music. And so we start our show today. And I want to start with this. Sometimes in life, you need to just enjoy stuff. Now, I didn't watch a lot of those Transformer movies. That really wasn't my thing. But they made $4 billion. If you really know what the Transformer movies are about, it's about an alien robot becoming a car. Don't overthink Transformers. Go to the movie and try to enjoy it. This is the way I look at water parks for my kids. My kids love water parks, and so I take my kids a couple of times in summer to a water park. I know it's a 200-acre habitat for germs. I know if you just combine big slide and toilet equals water park. I know that, Christine, but I go to the water park because my kids love it. I don't overthink it. I can take a shower when I get home, and it's just fun for 2 hours. Baseball needs to just sometimes embrace stuff. In the NBA, when scoring goes up, we celebrate it. I mean, we love Steph Curry and James Harden, and we love Kevin Durant. When football scoring goes up, we talk about the golden era of quarterbacks. When hockey scoring goes up, we acknowledge it's great for the game. Baseball is now on record to shatter all their home run records, and the takeaway from seamheads is the ball's juiced, it's not right, enjoy baseball. Tonight we're going to have a home run derby, and in my recent memory of home run derbies, we've never had one where Aaron Judge of the Yankees, Giancarlo Stanton, you've got young stars, not just stars, but young stars hitting home runs at a record pace. Sit back, baseball, enjoy it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't overanalyze water parks. You'll take the fun out of it. Don't overanalyze every movie. They're not really, they are actors. They're pretending to be people. Don't overanalyze baseball. You got record home runs. The All-Star Game is here. The Yankees, the Dodgers are really, really good. So are the Red Sox. I don't know if the Cubs make the playoffs. John Smoltz, Joe Buck later on that. Alex Rodriguez on our show. I think sometimes you forget. Right now in America, more people are watching baseball than at any time in the history of the sport. It is its most financially successful and is narrowly behind the NFL, and if you count RSNs, local TV, national TV. Sit back, enjoy it. Sometimes baseball eats itself alive. Want to shift gears to this. So over the course of a weekend, James Harden signed a big fat contract with the Houston Rockets, and he's going to make like $230 million. And a lot of people are like, wow, that's unbelievable. I would actually tell you that NBA contracts are really great contracts because the most you can sign for is like 5 years. Now, this is one of my beliefs in life. I don't ever go on cruise ships. Now, we're in Miami right now, which is sort of the cruise ship capital of North America. A lot of the cruise ships go out of the port over here. I don't do cruises. Christine and I were talking about this morning. The reason I don't do cruises is you're at sea. And then you'll see these people that go on 2-week cruises. And the first day there's salmonella, the second day there's a storm, the third day there's sunburn, and you're out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
You're ruining vacations worldwide right now while Mr. Worldwide is performing behind us.
Here's my personality. I don't like to be trapped. So I don't go on cruises. I wouldn't want to be. What if you're from Kansas and you don't have the ocean and you've never been in a boat and you book a cruise with your wife and 2 days in it's like, oh, I get seasick. And you're literally in, I don't know, you're off the coast of, you're in the Caribbean.
Yes.
You're trapped. So what I do is I go on 2-day vacations. So let's say my wife and I get into a fight. I can just get in a plane and leave her. So that's the key, really, to vacations is doing very, very quick vacations. My kids are obnoxious. My wife starts hating me. I can just say, Southwest Airlines, here I come. So my whole point is in the NBA, let's say you sign a bad contract. They're only 5 years. In baseball, Robinson Cano's is 10. Pujols is 10. David Price is 7. I have no problem paying James Harden $230 million because I know at the end of this contract, James Harden, even if he got injured, is still going to be awesome. My bigger concern is signing a 10-year contract and I can't get out of it. So I think people get too worked up on NBA contracts. If I owned a team, I have no problem, even if you sign a terrible contract. Let's take the Lakers. They signed the Mozgov contract and the Luol Deng contract. They're not good contracts. They already had somebody take the Mozgov contract off their hands.
Well, I agree with you that James Harden is worth every single penny, but you realize there's the flip side to this, that if your vacation is awesome, you might want to stay for 7 days rather than 2. Or maybe James Harden is really great and you'd like to keep him for longer without having to sign another contract worth more money.
But I think if I lived in the world of ownership or general managership, that I would rather take the risk of he might leave me. I'll just treat him really well, and the organization will surround him with the best possible players, and I'll treat somebody really well. What I do worry about secondarily with baseball contracts is complacency. That's why I've never thought I would be a good broadcaster with a 10-year contract. I'd get lazy.
True.
Is that the short of the contract, it forces me to go to work, grind, have to impress my bosses, have to be a good teammate. And so in the end, whenever I read an NBA contract, people just freak out. And my takeaway is, no, it's okay. You, as a fan, what you should root against is getting trapped. And if you have a 10-year contract, I mean, that Albert Pujols contract will now limit what the Angels can do in their bullpen or maybe get a great third baseman. That's scary as a fan. That's when fans lose. Fans don't lose. Even the Lakers right now feel good about their future, and they have that Luol Deng contract, which is a terrible contract.
So you want to go on vacations with an opt-out clause, essentially?
I think if I ever went on a cruise, Christine, I would want a helicopter opt-out 3 days in.
Okay, I don't know what cruise line offers that, but I would recommend you stay away from cruises and take a longer vacation.
Now,
sometimes you need it.
Can I ask this? Have you ever gone on a cruise?
Yes, I hated it.
Okay, but why?
Why did I hate it?
Yes.
Because I was stuck on a boat.
Okay, that's my point.
But I don't go on cruises. But I also see that if I go on a 7-day vacation sometimes, it might be awesome and I want to stay longer. I don't want to bowl.
By the way, if you want to stay longer, you just go to the hotel 4 days in and say, could I make it 9, not 7 days, and extend it. And generally they have space. So I guess my point today is first, enjoy life. Don't overanalyze things baseball. Home run record. Enjoy it. Put your arms around it. It's fun. We're here right now because the sport's having a little bit of a home run renaissance. We didn't have to come here. We wanted to come here. Secondarily, with the NBA and contracts, as a fan, just don't get trapped like the Angels are now. I think by and large, Portland's got some really bad deals, but by and large, you can wiggle yourself out of a bad NBA deal. It's 5 years. By the way, at the end of this next year, Luol Deng only has a couple of years for the Lakers, and there'll be teams that buy that contract because it's an expiring contract within 2 years. All right, I want to touch on a lot of things today. The baseball commissioner's on the other side as Pitbull. Yes.
He's giving us everything tonight.
How many shows in America right now can give you this sort of dialogue and Pitbull in the backdrop?
That is good. Now, are you telling me, Colin, you don't want to just join them for 5 minutes?
I like Pitbull.
I think you'd fit in.
I enjoy his music. I think he has what I would say, Pitbull's got the kind of music everybody can play along. I love Perky Jerky. What makes it so great are all the unique flavors. They have a new variety pack, home run. A lot of options. Listen, life gets boring fast. Try a different flavor. Every game special offer, 40% off all multi-packs. The best tasting jerky on earth, guaranteed. So Danny Ainge, I've been told now for several years, is a basketball savant. He's got it all figured out. Isaiah Thomas, all 5'8.5", said over the weekend, the Celtics better bring the Brinks truck, said the 5'8.5" point guard who's a defensive liability.
You're knocking a guy for being short.
Not only will he be 29 next summer,
Old.
but questions remain about his ability to lead a team to a title due to limitations on the defensive end. So, of course, what Boston could really use with his contract coming up, they could really, really use a young point guard. Oh, wait. This year, there were half a dozen in the draft, and Boston didn't get Lonzo or De'Aaron Fox or Fultz. They traded away their pick for a very good wing player, Jason Tatum.
You're making two arguments
The
here.
problem is next year's draft, and they probably have the number 1 or 2 pick, has no point guards. And the best 7 players out of college or international next year are wings, which the Celtics have an abundance of. Now, it should be noted, genius Danny Ainge, his last 22 picks, he doesn't have an all-star, but he did, to his credit, draft Avery Bradley. Oh, wait. He's now out of town because you got Gordon Hayward. So, generally, this is the way it works with geniuses. Like, something has to land. Like Elon Musk does, like Tesla and rockets. I'm like, check, genius. And then Steve Jobs did the iPad and the iPhone and the iPod. And I'm like, check, check, check. He's a genius. Danny Ainge is down to, hey,
Oh, my.
Al Horford on a good night can really play.
You do realize that on one hand, you're saying that you want them to act now and win now.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, you're saying you want them to draft a point guard. You really think, no matter how great this point guard is, that 1 year out of college is going to be the star and the difference to get things done now?
No, but in
Clearly
1
they didn't even
year,
think so.
listen to the Isaiah Thomas contract. If he signed, now remember, Isaiah Thomas got drafted late. Okay, so Isaiah's a guy that really hasn't made what you call huge NBA money. There are some NBA guys, like Kevin Durant, who's made money. They'll take a little bit of a pay cut. Chris Bosh to Miami says, I want to win rings. Isaiah Thomas is now playing at an all-star level, but he is never, this is his big contract. He's not taking a pay cut. So if you sign him to the deal, you will be paying him in the last 4 years of the deal $34 million, $36, $38, and $41 million for a, and by the way, he'll be 35 and still 5'8.5" by the end of that contract.
He could grow. So you're knocking Danny Ainge for something that hasn't even happened yet because one player tweets that he wants the brink trucks to come out. I just want to make sure I'm getting that straight.
All I'm saying is that he's been given this Messiah label, and there's a limitation on how long, hey, we're second best in the East. You got to recalibrate your genius level.
Oh.
That's not much of a bragging point anymore. Like it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Like one of these draft picks, I don't think Jaylen Brown's ever going to be a star. He can dunk, can't shoot. Jason Tatum looks good, but it's summer league. I'm going to slow down. At some point, getting basically swept by the Cavs does not equal genius. That's all I'm saying. I just like a little more from my geniuses.
Who's a genius then?
Daryl Morey, have you seen the story today out of Houston? So he gets James Harden. People think he doesn't have cap room. He gets Chris Paul. According to a report today, I'm going to read you this. This is what a genius does.
Okay.
He did go to MIT.
That's where the geniuses are bred.
Mostly, yeah. Carmelo Anthony says he's confident he'll end up with the Rockets. Now, I don't love Carmelo, but in this team, at this point in the West, a 6'9" offensive wing, this would be Carmelo's last stand. I'd be okay with it. Nobody thought they had any wiggle room here. They're going to get Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony. What? That's pretty good. That's what a genius does. A genius doesn't say, hey, We're second best in the East.
You can't give that voice to Danny Ainge, but I never thought I would hear the day or see the day come when you would say a guy getting Carmelo Anthony makes him a genius. I don't know what the world's come to.
I think Carmelo's just a little whipping cream on the cake of genius. It's just a little topping.
Icing.
It's a little
You're liking
icing.
the icing.
It's just I don't love Carmelo, but in Houston, I'm like, yeah, he'd make Durant work on the defensive end. I can live with Carmelo.
All 3 hours of The Herd are always streaming on the Herd channel on the iHeartRadio app.
A lot of people are, kind of poking fun at the NBA Summer League, but I'll say this. The NBA does one thing really, really well. They develop stars, and basketball's always had sort of a worshiping culture, and I think Lonzo Ball is going to be a remarkably big player in this league. I don't know if he's ever going to be Steph Curry, the player. I don't know if he could be, or Magic Johnson, but I think if he's a good player combined with the Lakers brand, he's going to be a real big star in this league. It's the same thing. Brett Favre was going to be really, really good anywhere. You put him with the Packers, he's a legend. Networks like to put the Packers on. It's the same with Tony Romo was a good quarterback. You put him on the Cowboys, we talk Tony Romo more than any quarterback the last 10 years who wasn't regularly in the playoffs. I mean, we talked Manning, we talked Brady, we talked Favre. And I swear to God, we talked Tony Romo the last 10 years I've been a national host. So when you can be good, Tony Romo was really good. I think Lonzo Ball is going to be really good. And you put him with a Michigan football, Kentucky basketball, Laker basketball, Dallas Cowboy, Green Bay Packer, you get an explosion. And I think that's what you're going to get. Now, at the opposite end of the spectrum are the incredibly, laughably, idiotically dysfunctional New York Knicks. David Griffin was the general manager. He pulled his name out of the Knicks general manager search. Why? Because Griffin was told, okay, you could be the general manager, but you're not going to have full authority on those things called basketball decisions, and you can't build your own staff. And he said, I'm going to be Seacrest out. So he backed out. So Phil Jackson had a picture this week on Twitter at his Montana house, feet up, enjoying the good life. Phil Jackson is now gone, and yet the Knicks are still clueless. They are paying Tim Hardaway, decent player, locked in $71 million, proving Phil Jackson is just the latest guy to go to the Knicks and be somewhat corrupted. Donnie Walsh was considered at Indiana a basketball architect, went to New York, and it failed. Isaiah Thomas has a tremendous record of drafting NBA players, goes to New York, leaves, not good. Phil Jackson, 11 rings, goes to New York, and now he's just terrible. This is about the owner being James Dolan. We know that Isaiah Thomas has had basketball success. We know Phil Jackson has. We know Donnie Walsh has. What the Knicks have become is what the Raiders became in the last 7 to 8 to 10 years of Al Davis's life, where they were corrupted. And now the Raiders, since the passing of Al Davis, who in his prime was a maverick and a revolutionary, but he was not at the end. He was holding the organization hostage. And in the end, Randy Moss was great in Minnesota and great in New England. In between, bad in Oakland. Carson Palmer, really good in Cincinnati, really nice in Arizona. In between, bad in Oakland, 4-11. Mike Shanahan leaving started it. This happens all the time. Mike D'Antoni, coach of the year in Phoenix, coach of the year now in Houston. But he goes to the Knicks, and, it turned virtually overnight. Bad ownership corrupts an organization much faster than a coach and much faster than players. This is what I've said about the city of New York. I will say it again, and I believe it. New York right now has more bad ownership than any place in the country. In the NFL right now, you have 3 ownership groups I'm dubious of. The Jets, Cleveland, and the Bears. Jacksonville's not good, but I like their owner. Jets, Cleveland, Bears. In the NBA, the worst-run franchise is the Knicks. NHL, Islanders are a mess. And in Major League Baseball, the Mets still haven't paid the $60 million loan they took from the sport because they got caught in a Ponzi scheme. New York, New York, New York, New York. NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. When you have an ownership group who's more worried about attention than wins, that doesn't do their homework, maybe got dad's money, not fully vested, fans are trapped. And I feel right now New York is that city in America where fans are a little bit trapped.
This is the Herd Podcast.
So whenever I stop by Miami, and this is one of my favorite cities in the country, one of the things I think about is obviously the aqua beaches. One of the other things I always think about is the Miami Hurricanes, the U. And I have always really liked college football. I love the NFL, but I really like college football. And I was talking to a researcher at Fox Sports last night, and we were agreeing that we couldn't remember the last time that in college football, virtually every power program is going to be 10-plus wins. Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Alabama, USC, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Florida State, Washington, Auburn should all be 10-plus wins. And it generally doesn't work that way. You know, USC's got a new coach. Bama's been down. Oklahoma. It doesn't work that way. And we were trying to get Mark Richt, coach of Miami, on our set tomorrow, and I'm still crossing my fingers. Because the only team, I think, college football, and the only thing it'll miss this year is a great Miami team. And for a lot of you that are in your 20s, it's been a long time since Miami was great. They've lost 6 of their last 7 bowl games. It's been 14 years since Miami had double-digit wins. And it's been longer since Miami had that hurricane flavor of the U. When you watch college football, it always feels collegiate. It's small town. It's often rural. That USC, and specifically Miami, have always felt like somewhere between college and the pros. And I really believe what I'm about to say. In the history of college football, the greatest teams ever were the Miami Hurricanes at their best. Alabama may win more national titles, but Alabama's never had world-class NFL-level quarterbacks. The SEC last couple of years hasn't provided a great deal of an obstacle, except Ole Miss, and they were cheating. Alabama players don't go to the NFL and dominate the NFL the way the Miami Hurricanes players did. And college football misses Miami. There was a vibe and a swagger and a uniqueness to Miami, and I always think about the Hurricanes when I'm here. In fact, I would argue there has never been in American sports and never will be a fan base like the Miami Hurricanes. Now, we all know there's a lot of bandwagon Cowboy fans that the Cowboys get good and all of a sudden their fan base expands by like 30, 40, 50%. We all know with Notre Dame or the Yankees, they've got a lot of fans, but when they get really good, their fan base expands by 30, 40, 50%. Oh, it's different with the Miami Hurricanes. Literally, when they're good, their fan base expands by 99%. They're virtually all bandwagon fans because they live in a city which is an event town where there's pro sports and the best beaches in America, an international flair, shopping, restaurants, a million things to do. The Keys down south, golf courses up north. So the Miami Hurricanes are basically almost solely a bandwagon fan base through and through. They're almost like a trend that falls upon the scene and then disappears like a year later. Remember back in the 80s, 90s, the pet rock? You ever see a trend come into fashion and then leaves in a year? That's literally like Miami Hurricane football. It was a party. It was a rock tour. It was almost all the bandwagon fan base, which I've never cared about. I mean, you don't get bonus points for going to games for 20 years if it's boring and they're a bad team. But I miss them. I hope Mark Richt eventually comes on our show. I know he's a busy guy. And here's what I love. That Alabama this year is not dominating recruiting. Is that when Mark Richt got fired at Georgia, I said it was a big mistake, that he was a decent man who won 10 games a year in the toughest football conference in America. Do you know where Miami right now, with 19 recruits already verbally committed, stands in recruiting? Number 1 in the country. That is awesome. Nothing against Bama, nothing against Oklahoma, nothing against the Big Ten. There's a lot of duplication in college football. There is nothing that looks like, feels like, lives and breathes like the Miami Hurricanes. They're somewhere between college and pro football, and man, I want them back. And whenever I come to Miami, outside of the aqua water and the beaches, it's the second thing I think of. Alex Rodriguez and Kevin Burkhardt are around the corner. It's very interesting. Alex grew up. This used to be, I think, the stadium area we're in now. Wasn't this the old, like, Miami Hurricanes played in this or something years ago, John? The Orange Bowl, right? So my understanding is A-Rod as a kid would sneak into the stadium, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is where A-Rod grew up, where he was a high school baseball star. I remember watching video of him, reading a story in Sports Illustrated. And this is where it all started for A-Rod. We went to dinner with him last night, so he'll be on the other end as we join you again in Miami at Marlins Park. A-Rod around the corner.
Catch the Herd from noon to 3 Eastern on iHeartRadio and FS1.
Welcome back. Marlins Park in Miami. Isn't that beautiful?
Don't you like this song? You know what this says?
What is it?
I'm in Miami. Bleep.
So's Alex Rodriguez and Kevin Burkhardt. By the way, they're sitting. Giancarlo Stanton hit a ball 490 feet. And there's a little built-in plaque right behind these guys. And from home plate, it's about a $20 Uber ride to get to that home run ball. And so it's amazing. Right next to the wall, the guy, he almost hit it out of the stadium. So Alex Rodriguez and Kevin Burkhardt are joining us. But here's the thing. You hang out with A-Rod, so
Yes.
you know what a sports junkie he is. He is college football guy, NFL guy. You've been like this since the first time I met you. Yeah. Why didn't you play football?
Well, I always wanted to play football. I played in high school. I was a quarterback. But, I mean, when I started talking to my mother and my brother and my sister, they started kind of pushing me more towards baseball. And there's nothing like game day in football. But for me, baseball, being a Miami kid, having Dominican blood, baseball was a natural for me.
So can I share something about
Sure.
that? So I'll give you a little something. So we do our baseball show, the Whip Around, weeknights, and Alex is obviously a part of that, but not all the time. So there was a week where you came in, you did a couple shows, but I think Friday you were off, but we were still doing the show. So Alex just comes in to watch the games with us. Like, what are you doing here? He's like, you're not on the show. I just want to come watch the games.
That's what he have a life.
That's who.
That too.
But he loves baseball.
Friday night, I go see KB when I'm not working. That's pretty sad.
So, but you were a kid sneaking into games here when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And were you a Hurricanes fan? I imagine a huge Hurricanes fan.
I was an enormous Hurricane fan and a huge Jimmy Johnson fan, and they built a dynasty here, and they did it by drafting all these young, talented individuals. And I used to take Colin 3 buses and a train to get to the Orange Bowl. They had the 1 o'clock games here, and then I would sneak over. The ushers were a little bit older and a little bit slower, and I would just jump over, and I got to watch free football because I couldn't afford the ticket.
Why can't the Marlins do the same?
Well, I think it's interesting. If you look at the Marlins, right, if you were to build out a business plan around it, I think you have to be very specific because although Miami's in the United States, is a very complicated market. And what worked so well for us with Miami and Jimmy Johnson was that he strictly drafted Florida kids. And he didn't really leave call it a 400-mile radius. And he had enormous success. I think the same is true for the Marlins. If you think about drafting players that are from Florida, from Miami, from Tampa, I've been playing high leverage games under the lights at the Boys and Girls Club in front of hundreds of people since I was 9 years old. So that's important. The other thing is, if you think about free agency, you're not going to get a discount from a California kid like a Stanton. You're not going to get a discount from a kid from Seattle because he's going to think Miami's probably more of a detriment than an asset. But if you think about Eric Hosmer and Manny Machado, you may be able to get Manny Machado and say, hey, I'm going to pay you not $200 like Baltimore, but I'll pay you $160 to come to Miami. With 7 years, the tax breaks that you'll take, is it worth it to come to Miami for that discount? And I think in a lot of cases, the answer will be yes.
Listen, we know that Theo, Kevin, what they did with the Cubs. The Cubs this year, there's great debate in baseball that the Cubs were amazing last year, but they don't have the leadoff guy. They are struggling on the mound. Is it possible the Cubs were a good team with good personnel that got absurdly hot, and the Cubs story is going to go back to being average. Is that possible?
I think it's definitely possible, don't you? I mean, when we looked at it last year, because it was story, because they were so great, and they had some moments of adversity in the playoffs, but they responded. But you got to remember, during the regular season, they dominated, and all these young guys were thinking, hey, this is set up to be a 10-year thing. But sometimes it's hard. You lose a piece or two, like they did. Big guys in the clubhouse too, and that's hard to recover from, right?
It really is, and what people don't understand, I talked about it in spring training when we did our preseason schedule. The hangover effect, it's unbelievable. It is real and it's tangible. What do I mean by that? You're playing for Chicago Cubs. You haven't won in 108 years. Your emails, your texts, they're blowing up around the clock 24/7. There's opportunity everywhere to make money, to do commercials, to do appearances. We call it the banquet tour. It's hard to focus on the next season when you're doing so many things to celebrate the prior year. A-Rod, you're iconic in America. Do you ever... Part of the reason that you still maintain such a life here is that you can hide a little in Miami. Because if you go, when you were in New York, good Lord, you're in the tabloids every day. It's fun when you're in your 30s. But like for you now, what is the Miami experience like for you on a day-to-day basis? Miami's great for me. I have my two daughters, Natasha and Ella. They're 12 and 9. They go to school here in Coconut Grove. And Miami's a place for me that I'm indebted to because it's where I learned how to play baseball at the Boys and Girls Club. Is now where I come back tomorrow, and Rob Manfred and I, Commissioner Manfred, we're throwing out the first pitch. We're hosting over 1,000 kids at the Boys and Girls Club. And, Colin, I'm at a point in my life that is all about paying it forward. I played for over 22 years. I experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly. I own the home runs as I own the strikeouts. And I think I have an opportunity and a platform to be able to help those that come after me to be able to say, hey, here are the mistakes I made. Just try to stay away from them and really just help them move, reach their goals. The home runs are through the roof. It's funny. Baseball law is... It's funny. When scoring goes up in football, hockey, or basketball, we're like, yeah. Home runs are through the roof in baseball. We're like, oh, okay, what's going on with the baseballs? It's like, can you people just enjoy the game? I've gone to 2 Dodger games. I've seen 6 home runs. Votto hit 1. Cody hit a couple. To me, it feels like we're getting home runs because the strikeout analytically is no longer bad. It's better than a ground ball. That's why I think we're getting home runs. Why are we, Kevin? Start with you.
I think it's a number of reasons. I think that. I think the thing about the home runs to me is when you see some of these guys who are not home run hitters and they're hitting second deck, third deck. It's a little fishy. You have to think that maybe the balls are a little bit tighter, but it's not just that. The bats are different. You know this. The bats are so much more compact now, and they offer so much spring. I think your point is about the strikeouts. When you play, if you struck out, it's a bad thing. Bad thing. Humiliating. Awful. Nobody cares.
It's not. By the way, the ground ball now. I love Derek Jeter, but the ground ball at the end of his career was a double play ball. The ground ball now is what you don't want to do, right? So everybody's swinging up. That's what I see. Look, Colin, anytime, whether it's business or sports, that you swing the pendulum, it goes way too far to the right, and people start going crazy. Now, we don't hire people that have anything to do with baseball. We only hire, Harvard, Yale, and Columbia business school guys that only know math. That's a problem. And here's what I mean by that. The last time a team won a world championship and led the league in strikeouts were the 1938 Yankees. That's a problem. The fact that you strike out 200 times a year and people celebrate it, and you can hit 220 and people celebrate it, that's a mistake. In order to win in October, you need to put the ball in play. That's what Kansas City did to the Mets. They drove them crazy. You need to get a guy in from third with less than 2 outs, and a number of things you need to do to put the game in motion. I think long-term is a big problem. You have to put the ball in play. Aaron Judge is having a ridiculous first half. If you look at the history of baseball, he's not going to duplicate that. I remember when I was a kid, there was guys won't remember this name. Alvin Davis played for the Mariners. Yeah. You remember Alvin Davis? Absolutely. He broke into the league. Number 21. Yeah. Wow. You are a savant. So Alvin was a guy who broke into the league, fastball hitter. Nobody knew him. They threw him fastballs, bang, bang, bang. Second, third year, he drops off. I look at Aaron Judge and I go, okay, 6'7", he's got a big strike zone. Can he maintain this?
I don't think it's fair to maintain 30 home runs because that means he'll hit 60 or 70 home runs every year. But here's a guy, Colin, that I'm so excited for. For the first time in a long time, we have a LeBron James type of personality and size that can transcend sport. Here's a guy who's 6'7", 275 pounds, 9% body fat, 32-inch vertical. The guy bench presses 400 pounds, squats 500 pounds, and he's an amazing figure. I mean, and for the next generation to say, well, there's a guy that could be a tight end and an all-pro, and he chose baseball. Why can't I? And hopefully the kids are taking notes of Aaron Judge.
You know what's crazy about him? He was living in Times Square.
Yeah.
Remember last time we talked to him, he was living in Times Square. Of all the places you could live in New York, that would be about the last one. But I guess if you're 6'7" and that big, you could fit in, and no one's going to question you in Times Square.
You know, baseball has, Kevin, has an uptick in participation. And I'm wondering, like youth baseball now, I just had Manfred on, is going up and football's going down. You broadcast both.
Yep.
Do you sense when you're out in America that there is some NFL football fear and there is a rejuvenation of what's perceived as a safer sport, baseball?
I don't think that currently there's a fear for the NFL, but I know for a fact that there's a fear at the younger levels. I just from people that I talk to, that I deal with, whether it's with teams or just friends, they aren't letting their kids play football. You know, they're letting their kids play flag, but they aren't letting their kids play tackle football. Whether that comes to fruition where it actually hurts the league, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years down the road, maybe. But I think there is absolutely a feel that there's going to be a choice. Let the kid play baseball year-round. I don't think there's any question about it.
Alex, what kind of quarterback were you? Little Russell Wilson?
If you asked me, it was a long time ago and you didn't watch me, I'll say I was pretty good.
Were you?
Yeah, it's funny. My senior year, the three top quarterbacks were Danny Cannell, Brian Griese, and I was third or second, somewhere in there. And they went on to have pretty good, careers at Michigan and Florida State, and of course played in the NFL. I do want to address what Kevin just talked about as far as kind of. When I was a 9-year-old boy, we were the #1 domestic sport, right, in America.
Right.
And somewhere along the lines, we kind of lost the grip to that. But I do think for the first time, we have an opening. And I'm really excited about that. Like Kevin, I have 2 girls, not 2 boys. I would have a really hard time letting my boy play football, so I would let him play baseball.
The other thing about, and this is not a knock on football, but football is a very unique sport. You got to play basketball early, and you got to play baseball and golf early. You got to figure out how to hit. You got to take a lot of ground balls. Football's a weird sport where you can join. Like there's a bunch of guys who like in the NFL that didn't play until they were juniors and
there's
seniors.
more and more of that.
A lot, and that's
more
where I think football should go. Is listen, we're not going to tackle till about 15 years old. Brain's developing. We'll get out of that space. All right, Alex Rodriguez and Kevin Burkhardt. Who's going to win the home run derby? 30 seconds. Who's winning tonight?
I'm going to go a little wild card. Mike Moustakas picking the Moose.
Oh, I love it.
Going Moose. Wild card.
I'm going to go big. I'm a Yankees. I'm going to go with Aaron Judge. It'll be a great story for baseball.
Aren't you doing something kind of cool in the outfield?
We can't tell that.
No, we can.
We'll keep that a secret.
9 seconds left.
Fine, we'll keep it a secret.
We're running
It's
out of
supposed
time.
to be
Saved
good.
by the
It's not
bell.
a secret. I'm not breaking rules.
Thanks, guys. It's The Herd.
Thank you, guys.
This is the Herd Podcast.
Has anybody noticed the NBA offseason? I was thinking about this morning. Mm-hmm. It's been just like the regular season. So in the NBA regular season, we had 2 teams, Golden State and Cleveland, that pretty much had sort of definitively pulled away from their conference. And even though neither team did, Cleveland or Golden State did this much this offseason, they're still definitively the top 2 teams. During the regular season, we spent a lot of time talking about stars. One of them was in Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook. The other was in Houston, James Harden. This offseason, last couple of weeks, we've spent a lot of time talking about Oklahoma City. The star is now Paul George, and Houston, the star is now Chris Paul. Boston is making moves, but still hasn't made the move we really want them to make. Minnesota is still that, quote, talented team on the rise. The Lakers, just like the regular season, are pinning their hopes on Lonzo Ball. The Sixers' top draft picks are not playing. The pieces have moved. The stories haven't. In the West, the top and the bottom still look the same. And in the East, the top and the bottom largely look the same. There has been movement, but we're talking about the same 5 to 6 teams we were 5 or 6 months ago. I'm okay with it, but I thought it was kind of ironic. The other thing over the weekend, James Harden signed a massive contract, $228 million. Some NFL players came out publicly and said this is outrageous, we should be paid more. If you want to know who should be outraged, it's LeBron James, because now guys are making as much or more than LeBron James. Isaiah Thomas could sign a contract in the next year that pays him significantly more than LeBron James. But you have to realize when it comes to contracts, it's all about timing. The highest paid player right now in the NFL on an annual basis is Joe Flacco. Most don't consider him a top 10 quarterback. Right now in the NFL, we looked it up this morning, Kellen Moore makes more money than Dak Prescott at the quarterback position for the Dallas Cowboys. You can't get caught up in what people are making because so much of a contract is timing based. Dak Prescott will be the second highest paid Dallas Cowboy quarterback. And he is absolutely the most important player for the Cowboys. And I would say because of the popularity of the Cowboys, and at Fox, we air like 8 Cowboy games this year on national TV, he will be the most important player for our network, Fox Sports. So when you get caught up on a guy makes this and a guy makes that, there are so many things. Timing is big. Mike Conley, because of the scarcity of other guards on the market, made a fortune. I wouldn't want to pay Mike Conley that, but given what Memphis had as options, Otto Porter and Mike Conley, good players, not stars, are making a fortune. So, and I said this earlier, and I really believe this, is that NBA players, yes, I'll say it again, should be more highly compensated than NFL players. They should be. Gronk, for instance, may be the best tight end in the history of football. In Vegas, he's not worth a point a game. Julio Jones may very well be the best wide receiver in football. He missed 2 games this year. Atlanta scored in the 40s both times, above their season average. Outside of quarterback, football is overwhelmingly about a multitude of players, choreography, and a system. Every sport has a different culture. In baseball, the pitcher plays only every 4th or 5th game, and he is the most important if you want to win a World Series. In fact, it's virtually impossible to win a World Series without a good bullpen. Mariano Rivera gave Joe Torre every one of those rings. He secured it. So when you look at basketball players, it is more of an artistic sport than a system sport. For Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, go score. In fact, if it was about systems, then why doesn't everybody in basketball copy the triangle? And nobody did, because we all understood it was an offense that only truly worked if Michael or Kobe were finishing on the wing. So basketball players just picked, when it comes to monetary success, they picked the right sport. Football players, it's a system sport, and it always has been. That's why Alabama can be average at quarterback and win multiple national championships. It's why the New England Patriots can be largely average at running back and win multiple national championships. It's just the way the sports work. It's nothing against Gronk. I think he's a far more talented football player than Otto Porter is a basketball player, though talented still. But basketball's always going to be more individualistic, more creative, and more about the player, not the system. Good to have you in. Joe Book, John Smoltz will join us. Alex Rodriguez just did. Dion Waiters as well. And Rob Manfred started the show in the first hour. Pitbull performed earlier today.
Well, he was doing his sound check, but we took it as a personal performance for us.
I felt like it was a personal performance.
He really was serenading you.
We got in, both of us got in like 7 o'clock, same flight last night from Miami. Not a bad flight, less than 5 hours from LA to Miami. It really is a very unique place. Like, of all the cities in America, like it was a Sunday night, and I live near the beach in Los Angeles. And a Sunday night in the summer, it's dead. They're closing the doors at 11 o'clock. We went out last night.
They're just opening the doors.
We were in a steakhouse last night at about 11:30, and there was more wattage and lights on than in 90% of the cities in America at dusk.
Yeah.
Miami is an incredibly unique place, and baseball picked a good place to host an all-star game.
Catch the Herd from noon to 3 Eastern on iHeartRadio and FS1.